Hello and welcome, dear student. I welcome you once again to this wonderful lesson as we'll be looking at BK Bible Knowledge in Form 3. We are continuing with the analysis of the book of Proto-Isaiah, First Isaiah. And in this part today, we are going to look at the Song of the Vineyard, which is in Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1 up to verse 7. So our main focus is that Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1 through 7. I am your usual teacher, Bible knowledge teacher, W.A. Mawowa. I ask you to be there and follow through up to the end. By the end of this lesson, it is my expectation, and indeed the expectation of everyone who sees you learning, that at the end of this lesson, you need to go deeper into the analysis of the book of Isaiah by looking at the Song of the Vineyard. So we need to look at the detail of the Song of the Vineyard. So by the end of this lesson, we need to go deeper into the analysis of Proto-Isaiah in this section of having a special understanding of the Song of the Vineyard. So the Song of the Vineyard, as I already said, it is found on Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1 through verse 7. Now, remember, as usual, Bible knowledge is almost impossible without this book. That is the Good News Bible. Make sure that you have the Good News Bible with you. Now, before I proceed, I need to take you through into this, indeed, the Song of the Vineyard, the Song of the Vineyard. So I'll be reading here in the same part or the same segment, the same chapter, that is chapter 5 from verse 1 up to verse 7. On verse 1, listen while I sing you this song, a song of my friend and his vineyard. My friend had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. Verse 2, he dug the soil and cleared it of stones. He planted the fine vines. He built a tower to guard them. He dug a pit for treading the grapes. He waited for the grapes to ripen, but every grape was sour. So now my friend says, you people who live in Jerusalem and Judah, judge between my vineyard and me. Verse 4, is there anything I failed to do for it? Then why did it produce sour grapes and not the good grapes I expected? Verse 5, this is what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge around it, break down the wall that protects it, and let the wild animals eat it and trample it down. Verse 6, I will let it be overgrown with weeds. I will not prune the vines or hoe the ground. Instead, I will let briars and thorns cover it. I will even forbid the clouds to let rain fall on it. Verse 7, Israel is the vineyard of the Lord Almighty. The people of Judah are the vines he planted. He expected them to do what was good, but instead they committed murder. He expected them to do what was right, but their victims cried out for justice. So this is the parable of the vineyard, the song of the vineyard. Now, what is a parable? When we talk of a parable, this song is in form of a parable. A parable is an earthly short story with a heavenly meaning. Or A simple story drawn from everyday life that teaches one a spiritual or moral lesson. Also, can be say a comparison with which contains a teaching, something that you compare this and that, but at the end, in the middle, there is a meaning. A short story that uses familiar situations to illustrate a religious or moral point. So a story that uses familiar situations to illustrate what the point is. Now, we have just read the parable of the vineyard. So mention the characteristics of a parable. It has one main message. It is a picture of something observed in daily life. The lesson comes at the end. So usually the parable, you find that the lesson is at the end. It has got one message, and that is a picture of something that you can see in everyday life. But now, why did Isaiah use a parable? Why did Isaiah use a parable? For various reasons. So here we are analyzing proto-Isaiah, but in this case, the prophet Isaiah used a parable. Why did he use the parable? For people to understand the message easily, for people to remember the message easily, for sure, to catch people's attention. Basically, sometimes you use a parable to catch someone's attention. That's what Isaiah wanted to do. To avoid debates which end up being useless and divisive. That is, to avoid debate. Therefore, people will be listening because you are speaking a story. But that story has got a meaning at the end. To convey the truth about God's relationship with his people, that's why Isaiah talked about this parable. To give a last chance to the people of Judah to see the truth and repent, because the parable has got one message and the message comes at the end. So in this case, Isaiah wanted to give a direct message to the people of Judah and give them a chance for repentance, to make the lesson interesting. So maybe he also wanted to make his lesson interesting. So we see here, these can be the suggestions why Isaiah talked of the parable or spoke in parable. Relate or narrate the parable of the vineyard. This is the question usually that comes to say, relate, narrate the parable. So they are asking you to say, what does the parable say? So it says Isaiah's friend had a vineyard on a very fertile land that was well prepared. He had everything possible, or he did everything possible to protect the crop. Then he waited for the grapes to ripe, but every grape was sour. Out of frustration, the farmer decided to remove whatever protected the vineyard. So this is what we see, that the vineyard or the vineyard story or the parable is all talking about. Then he decided to weed, not to weed or prune the vines, and would forbid the cloud to let rain fall on it. So he decided to say, I will not prune it. I will forbid the clouds not to fall, to pour rain on it. So in this parable, the friend is Yahweh. The vineyard is Israel. The vines are the people of Israel. Good grapes represent expected good behavior of Israelites, and the sour grapes represent the Israelites' sins. So God will punish them for their sins. So there is a story here whereby the parable itself has also explained there. Yahweh, the good friend of Isaiah. The vineyard is Israel. The vines are the people of Israel. Good grapes, the expected good behavior. Sour grapes, the sins. So the end of it, God, the friend of Isaiah, is going to punish them, the people, for their sins. So describe the characters in the parable. What are the characters? Who are the people that are found in the parable? So in the parable here, we see that there is a friend of Isaiah who is God. Also, the vineyard, which is Israel, and the vines, the people of Israel, the grapes, the behavior of the people. So sour grapes, sins, the bad behavior, and good grapes that were expected, that is the good behavior. So sweet or good grapes, good behavior, or sour grapes are the bad behavior. Now, how did the farmer or the friend of Isaiah show that he loved the vineyard? Or how did the friend of Isaiah or the farmer prepare his vineyard? How did he prepare for the vineyard? So we see that we have read there that he dug the soil, cleared it of stones, he planted the finest vines, he built a tower to guard it, he dug a pit for treating the grapes. So he did everything possible so that those grapes should produce to the maximum and they should be good. What harvest did the farmer expect from the vineyard? So that's obvious. That's obvious. He expected what? The good grapes. He expected the good grapes. But what harvest did the farmer get? He had expected good grapes, yes, but what did he get? Sour grapes in the end. What was the reaction of the farmer then? According to what we have read there, he was very disappointed. He was very disappointed. And that is an obvious thing. If you expected something good to happen and the opposite happens, then disappointment follows. So what would the farmer do to the vineyard? If it were you, you are disappointed. What could you do with this expectation? So here is what the farmer did. So he said he will take away the hedge around the vine because he had a hedge around it to protect it. He will break the fence that protects it, and he will let the wild animals eat and trample it because the opposite is true. Now, let everyone see. Everyone who wants to get it, let him get it, because this is what I did not expect. He will let it be overgrown with weeds. He will leave it without pruning or hoeing the ground. He will let the briars and thorns cover it. No care at all. No care at all. He will forbid the clouds to let rain fall on it. So this is how the friend of Isaiah, who is Yahweh, on his disappointment, he resorted to do all these things for the vineyard that he expected to do good things. Now, the meaning. What's the meaning of the parable of the vineyard? Or how was the parable relevant to the people of Judah? So Israel was the vineyard of the Lord, and the people of Judah were the vines, just as we have already explained that one. So God cared for them and expected them to do good, but instead they were unfaithful, disobedient to God. He expected to do what is right, but their victims cried out for justice. So he expected the people of Judah to be good to everyone, but the opposite was true. People were now and again crying for justice. Remember, we are looking at previously the chaos in Jerusalem, the sins the people committed, especially the leaders, injustice being practiced by the people. How had God shown his love to the people of Judah? So now we have said that the vineyard is the people of Judah. How did he show love to the people of Judah? Did he put the fence there? How did he do that? He had freed them from slavery in Egypt. Remember that? It's a familiar story. We know the story of the Israelites. They were released from slavery in Egypt by God. He gave them the fertile land of Canaan. Remember, when he was releasing them, he said that I'll give you the land of milk and honey, the land of Canaan. He gave them that land. He protected them from their enemies. He also gave them protection from their enemies. He chose them to make him known to all nations. All nations, they knew that there is a blessed nation of Israel. So he protected them. He showed love to them. But the end result was the opposite. They did not love God. He revealed himself to them through the events of history. He intervened during the time of war miraculously. He provided so many miracles. Remember, in the wilderness, when they were suffering from hunger, he provided them with manna. They did not see that love. He gave them law to guide them. He made a covenant with them. He gave them prophets and leaders to guide them. So this is all out of love. The love of, like that, the love of the friend of Isaiah, the farmer. He had a hedge around his garden, his vineyard. But that vineyard produced the sour grapes. So mention the privileges Israel had as the chosen people of God. So Israel, just as we have pointed out, they had the privileges. What were they? The knowledge of one true God. You know, today, even up to now, people are worshiping so many gods. But the Israelites, they had a privilege of worshiping one true God, one God. Knowledge of the law which guided their way of life. Being chosen people, being entrusted with the responsibility of teaching other nations the truth about God. So these were the privileges. They had very special privileges among nations because other nations were worshiping so many gods, but for them, one true God gave them the law. God said, you are my chosen people. You have been given the responsibility to teach other people who the Lord is. So that is a privilege. But how Israel was unfaithful to God? We see that they had that rejection or rebellion against Yahweh. They rebelled against God, practiced hypocritical religion. Remember, hypocrisy, pretense, pretending to be holy, but they were not. Hypocritical religion. They were doing two things at the same time. They were bad and good at the same time. Who were they? They were hypocritical. And also practicing injustice, oppression of the weak. The friends of God, the beloved of God, were oppressed. They practiced murder, stealing, and bribery, practiced idol worship. That is also an evidence of hypocritical religion. They practice worshiping other gods. At the same time, they say, we are the people of one true God. So who are they? That is hypocrisy. Now, describe the punishment God would give the people of Judah. So God described the punishment to say, I am going to punish you. So what's the punishment? He will remove his protection from the people of Judah. So he is going not to protect them. Foreigners are going to attack them. Foreign nations will invade the land of Judah. Other people will come, invade, either they choose to stay there or get the people of Israel and destroy the land. The land will turn into a bush. It will turn into a bush, just as in the parable there we have heard that he will let it open. Thorns will grow, briars will grow, and no weeding, no hoeing, everything you just be a bush there. So drought will loom in the country. So eventually people will suffer. There will be drought, nothing to eat. But what would what will happen to Judah the moment God removes his protection? So Judah would be attacked and destroyed by foreign nations. So what lessons can children learn from the parable of the vineyard? Now, if we try a little bit to apply in our context, what can children learn from this parable? So parents take care of their children with the expectation that they behave well. So every parent expects that every child is going to grow up a responsible child. Parents send their children to school with expectation that they become productive citizens. So Parents expect always good things will come out from their children. You'll be a doctor, you'll be an engineer. That is, they feel good if their children, they are behaving well, they are progressing well in life. If the children misbehave, parents are at liberty to punish them. So we see here, whenever a child misbehaves, that child is prone to punishment, is subject to punishment, to be punished by the parents. Now, to this far, we have come to the end of this lesson where we're looking at the parable of the vineyard, the song of the vineyard in chapter 5, verse 1 up to verse 7. But before I leave you, here I have an exercise. The exercise comes from MANEP as well. So in MANEP, in the year 2013, there was this question as well. So the question is about Isaiah chapter 5, the same passage. So pause this one and go through and answer the questions. Very direct questions, but they were the MANEP question some time back. So never know, it will be in your time when you also be asked the same question. How can you handle that question? So answer that question and send it to me. Then I will make sure I provide with you a feedback whenever you give me that response. So if you have any question, you can follow me through this WhatsApp number and everything we can discuss there. But then let me take you again to xulendo.org. Remember, all other content is there, be it chemistry, geography, mathematics, agriculture. You'll find it there. You'll find it there. So take time to visit xulendo.org for any other information. And for further consultation on our analysis of the book of Isaiah, you can also consult these books, Katoto Mtambo, and the Witch's Target. Remember, the good news is always there. Arise is also another good book that is there. So until next time, I am your teacher, W.A. Mawowa. Listen to the voice of substance because it will take you to the next level. Thank you so much.